Have you ever wondered why you are here? Not in the simple sense of what your life's purpose is, but in the deeper cosmic sense. Why of this soul, in this body, in this moment of time? According to a secret doctrine whispered through the centuries, the Greek philosopher Pythagoras did not merely invent geometry or numbers, he discovered a divine code behind existence itself. To him, numbers were not symbols of quantity, but expressions of living intelligence. Every number represented a vibration of the universe, and within that cosmic harmony, the soul played its own sacred note. But what if the world only remembers a fragment of his wisdom? What if the true teaching of Pythagoras, the one about the soul's journey, its origin, and its final liberation, was hidden from history, concealed behind mathematical symbols and cryptic allegories? They say Pythagoras was more than a mathematician. He was a mystic initiate, trained in the temples of Egypt and Babylon. He founded a brotherhood devoted not only to philosophy, but to spiritual transformation. His students took vows of silence for years, practiced strict purity rituals, and were forbidden to reveal certain truths to the uninitiated. Among these forbidden teachings was the doctrine of the soul, the idea that the soul is a fragment of divine light, imprisoned in matter, moving through countless lives to recover its harmony with the cosmos. In this video, we'll rediscover that forgotten wisdom. We'll explore how Pythagoras understood the soul's journey through reincarnation, how he saw the universe as a vast symphony of consciousness, and how we can use his teachings, yes, even today, to remember who we truly are. Because what Pythagoras taught wasn't just philosophy, it was a map to free the soul from the illusion of separateness and return it to the eternal source. To understand the lost teaching of Pythagoras on the soul, we must first step into the world of the ancient mystery schools, where philosophy, science, and spirituality were one and the same. In that world, knowledge was sacred, and the search for truth was not intellectual, it was transformational. Pythagoras was born around 570 BCE on the island of Samos, but his real education did not begin until he left Greece. He traveled to Egypt, where he studied with temple priests for over 20 years. There, he learned the language of sacred geometry, the idea that form is the shadow of spirit. The Egyptians taught that the soul is immortal, that it descends into matter to learn, and that its goal is to ascend again toward divine unity. Later in Babylon, he encountered the Chaldean Magi, who revealed to him the mysteries of celestial harmony, the belief that the stars and planets are not dead spheres, but conscious entities vibrating in perfect mathematical ratios. These teachings profoundly shaped his view of reality. When Pythagoras returned to Greece, he founded the Pythagorean Brotherhood in Croton, southern Italy, a spiritual community that lived like a monastic order. Its members followed a strict discipline of silence, vegetarianism, meditation, and contemplation. To them, philosophy was not an intellectual debate, but a way of purifying the soul. Pythagoras believed that the soul is immortal and divine, but through ignorance it becomes entangled in the material world. He taught that the body is a tomb, soma sema in Greek, a temporary vessel for the eternal spirit. Through cycles of rebirth, the soul learns to master desire, emotion, and thought until it resonates again with the universal harmony he called the music of the spheres. This music was not metaphorical, it was mathematical. Pythagoras discovered that the ratios governing musical harmony are the same ratios found throughout the cosmos. He concluded that the entire universe is built upon number, but not number as arithmetic. To him, numbers were divine archetypes, the fingerprints of the Creator. The monad, or the number one, represented the source of all being, the undivided unity, the divine spark from which everything emanates. The dyad, or two, symbolized duality, the birth of polarity, the dance between spirit and matter, light and shadow. The triad represented harmony, the reconciliation of opposites. And the Tetractys, the sacred number 4, embodied manifestation, the creation of form within the realm of time and space. These 4 numbers formed the Tetractys, a sacred symbol of 10 points arranged in a triangle, representing the entire structure of creation. The Pythagoreans swore oaths by it, calling it the fountain of ever-flowing nature. But beneath this mathematical mysticism lay a deeper truth. Pythagoras was mapping the soul's journey. Each stage of number, each geometric form, each vibration represented a phase of consciousness, from unity with the divine, to separation through incarnation, to the rediscovery of harmony through self-knowledge. For Pythagoras, to study mathematics was to remember the laws of the soul. To meditate on the harmony of the spheres was to attune oneself to the cosmic rhythm. And to live ethically, to practice justice, self-control, and compassion was to bring one's inner world into alignment with the universal order. His philosophy was thus both cosmic and personal. The same ratios that governed the movement of planets governed the movement of thoughts. The same harmony that exists between stars must also exist within the human heart. In this way, Pythagoras bridged heaven and earth. He showed that the key to understanding the soul lies not in dogma, but in the hidden mathematics of consciousness, the divine geometry within us all. Imagine the soul as a single note in a vast celestial symphony. When that note vibrates in harmony with the universe, it experiences peace, clarity, and joy. But when it falls out of tune, when ignorance, desire, or fear distort its resonance, the soul experiences suffering, confusion, and separation. This is how Pythagoras understood existence, as music frozen into matter. The universe itself was a living, breathing composition, and every human being was an instrument in that divine orchestra. The music of the spheres. Pythagoras discovered that when a string is plucked, the tone it produces depends on the ratio of its length. A simple fraction, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, determines whether the sound is harmonious or dissonant. From this insight, he deduced something extraordinary. The same mathematical ratios that create harmony in sound also govern the movement of celestial bodies. The planets, he said, move in perfect mathematical relationships, producing an inaudible but real symphony known as the music of the spheres. To the physical ear, this music cannot be heard, but to the purified soul, it is ever present, the eternal song of creation. In this cosmic harmony, the soul is both participant and listener. When our inner vibration aligns with the divine ratios, we hear the music and become part of it. When we live out of harmony, with greed, anger, or ego, we create internal dissonance, a kind of spiritual static that blinds us to the song of the cosmos. Pythagoras' lost teaching, therefore, was not just theoretical, it was profoundly practical. to tune the soul as one would tune an instrument. The mathematics of consciousness. To Pythagoras, every aspect of existence, from the shape of a snowflake to the orbit of a star, could be expressed through number. But these numbers were not lifeless. They were living principles, sacred archetypes expressing divine intelligence. He taught that the monad, one, is the source of all consciousness, the eternal, unchanging one. The dyad, two, is the birth of duality, the appearance of separation, the beginning of illusion. The triad, three, is the first harmony, the balancing of opposites, symbolizing the emergence of mind and intelligence. And the tetrad, four, gives rise to material existence, the realm of the senses, the four elements of earth, water, air, and fire. Beyond these lies the sacred decad, 10, the return to unity after the full cycle of manifestation. The soul, too, moves through these stages. It begins in divine unity, descends through duality and matter, and seeks to rise again through understanding and harmony. Each incarnation, Pythagoras taught, was a note in the melody of the soul's evolution. Just as a musician perfects their art through repetition, the soul perfects itself through lives of experience, learning to control the strings of desire, temper the drum of emotion, and refine the flute of thought until it plays in tune with the divine composition. Reincarnation and the law of harmony. Unlike later Greek philosophers, Pythagoras did not believe in eternal punishment or reward. He saw existence as a cycle of refinement, where the soul, through successive lives, learns to restore its perfect pitch. In his secret teachings, he revealed that when a soul lives in discord, ruled by ignorance, cruelty, or material attachment, it returns to earth in conditions that reflect its inner dissonance. But when it attains balance, wisdom, and virtue, it rises to higher planes of existence, closer to the eternal harmony of the divine. The ancients said that Pythagoras himself could recall his past incarnations. He claimed to have been a warrior named Euphorbus in the Trojan War, and that he recognized his own shield hanging in a temple centuries later. This was not a boast, it was proof of a deeper truth, that memory, consciousness, and essence do not perish with the body. They are carried within the vibrational pattern of the soul, like a melody that continues to play even after the instrument is broken. The tuning of the soul. To the Pythagoreans, philosophy was a form of musical therapy. They believed that certain modes and scales of music could purify the emotions, harmonize the mind, and awaken the higher faculties of the spirit. Each morning, they would chant sacred hymns to attune themselves to the cosmic rhythm. Each evening, they would listen to soothing melodies to calm the passions and prepare the soul for rest. This was not mere superstition, it was an ancient form of vibrational medicine. Today, science calls it resonance. Pythagoras called it spiritual alignment. He understood that every emotion, every thought, and every word we speak carries a frequency, one that either raises or lowers the vibration of the soul. Thus, the first step towards spiritual liberation, according to his teaching, is simple yet profound: to live in harmony with the universal order, to speak truth, think clearly, act justly, and purify the inner tone of one's being. Because when the soul is tuned, it remembers, and when it remembers, it awakens to the divine music that has never stopped playing. If Part 1 revealed the music of the soul, Part 2 unveils its geometry, the sacred design through which consciousness ascends from matter back to the divine source. For Pythagoras, the universe was not chaos, but a vast,
ordered design, a cosmic temple built upon mathematical harmony. He taught that the soul mirrors this structure. To know oneself deeply is to see the geometry of God reflected within. The triangle of the soul. Pythagoras viewed the soul as a threefold triangle, a sacred trinity composed of the rational soul, the emotional soul, and the vital soul. Just as the three sides of a triangle support one another, these three aspects must remain in perfect proportion. When emotion dominates reason, the triangle collapses into chaos. When the body rules the mind, the divine light is obscured. But when reason governs emotion, and emotion animates action with balance and compassion, the soul becomes a stable, radiant form, a perfect geometric vessel through which divine light can pass unobstructed. This is what Pythagoras meant when he said, "Virtue is harmony." It is not a moral rule, it is a mathematical alignment of being. The Tetractys and the soul's descent. One of Pythagoras's most sacred symbols, the Tetractys, was said to contain all the mysteries of heaven and earth. It consists of 10 points arranged in a triangle, representing the descent of divine unity into multiplicity. Each level corresponds to a stage of the soul's journey. The top point, 1, represents the monad, pure divine consciousness, untouched and eternal. The second row, 2, signifies duality, the emergence of polarity, spirit and matter, light and shadow, male and female. The third row symbolizes the Trinity, mind, emotion, and body, working to create balance. The fourth row is the physical world, where the soul fully incarnates into experience and forgets its origin. The goal of spiritual practice is to reverse this descent, to ascend from the realm of multiplicity, the many, back to unity, the one. In this, the Tetractys is not only a diagram, it is a map of the soul's evolution, showing that awakening is not the acquisition of new knowledge, but the remembrance of our divine origin. The harmony of opposites. Central to Pythagorean teaching is the law of opposites. Every force in the universe has a counterpart. Light and dark, motion and stillness, masculine and feminine, birth and decay. The ignorant mind sees these as contradictions, but the awakened soul perceives their hidden unity. He taught that harmony arises not by eliminating one side of the duality, but by balancing both. Just as harmony in music depends on contrasting notes, spiritual harmony depends on reconciling the inner opposites. Pythagoras said, "Do not seek to destroy your shadow, but to illuminate it." In practice, this meant embracing life's dualities, pleasure and pain, gain and loss, love and solitude, as necessary elements of the soul's tuning. To resist them is to fall out of tune. To understand them is to awaken. The ladder of return. Pythagoras described the ascent of the soul as a ladder, with each rung representing a higher vibration of consciousness. Later philosophers like Plato and Plotinus would call it the great chain of being, but its essence came from him. The lower rungs represent instinct, desire, and ignorance, states where the soul is bound by material identification. Above these are the rungs of discipline, virtue, and purification, where the soul learns to govern its passions. Higher still are the rungs of contemplation and harmony, where the mind becomes still and reflects the divine order. And at the summit lies union with the monad, the return to oneness, where the individual dissolves into the eternal harmony of being. Each step is not achieved through external effort, but through resonance, through aligning one's vibration with the next higher octave. As a musical note doubles in frequency to reach the next octave, so too does the soul elevate itself by refining its internal vibration through wisdom, compassion, and truth. The geometry of liberation. For Pythagoras, liberation was not escape. It was understanding the pattern. He believed that the same mathematical ratios that govern the structure of the cosmos also govern the soul's liberation. He called this pattern the golden mean, the perfect middle between extremes. To live according to the golden mean was to live in harmony with divine proportion. Not too much, not too little, not indulgence, not asceticism, but balance. This harmony extended to every part of life, the way one ate, spoke, thought, and acted. To live without moderation was to vibrate irregularly, creating dissonance. To live in proportion was to become geometrically perfect, a living embodiment of the cosmic order. Thus, Pythagoras' secret teaching on the soul was not an abstract mysticism. It was a precise science of consciousness, where mathematics, music, and morality all converged. He did not ask his students to believe. He asked them to resonate, because for him, enlightenment was not faith, but frequency. The silent doctrine. It's said that Pythagoras taught two levels of students, the akousaratoi, listeners, and the mathematoi, learners. The first were taught the outer philosophy, ethics, number, and discipline. The second were initiated into the inner mysteries, reincarnation, cosmic harmony, and the geometry of the soul. Before hearing these deeper teachings, students had to remain in silence for 5 years. Only when their inner vibration was purified could they perceive the truth behind the words. This silence was not punishment, it was preparation. For when the mind becomes still, the music of the soul begins to play again.
The teachings of Pythagoras were never meant to remain in dusty scrolls or secret temples. They were meant to be lived, transformed from symbols into sound, from thought into vibration. To walk the Pythagorean path today is to live in harmony with the divine proportions that shape all existence. 1. The discipline of inner harmony. Pythagoras taught that every soul can become a finely tuned instrument of cosmic music, but it requires daily tuning. This begins with purification, not in a moralistic sense, but as a process of cleansing distortion. He recommended 3 primary disciplines. Silence. Spend moments each day in intentional quiet. Let the mind rest, not as absence of sound, but as the presence of stillness. In silence, your thoughts begin to reveal their patterns, the irregular rhythms, the hidden disharmonies. Observing them without judgment is the first act of tuning. Simplicity. Eat lightly, speak truthfully, and live with moderation. Every excess of food, emotion, or desire throws the soul's geometry out of balance. Simplicity restores the golden mean, aligning your vibration with harmony rather than chaos. Self-reflection. Each evening, Pythagoreans recited 3 sacred questions. Where did I fail today? What did I accomplish? What did I neglect? This practice was not for guilt, but for alignment, to bring consciousness to the small dissonances that accumulate through daily living. Through these rituals, the student learned to hear their own frequency. 2. The science of vibration. To Pythagoras, all transformation was vibrational. Every word, thought, and emotion has a frequency. The key to spiritual progress is learning to consciously shape these frequencies. Try this simple practice inspired by his teachings. Morning tuning. Upon waking, take 3 deep breaths. On the first, visualize a bright, golden note resonating from your heart. On the second, imagine that note expanding outward, harmonizing with the world around you. On the third, silently declare, "May my soul sound in harmony with the spheres today." Over time, this simple act recalibrates the subtle body. You begin to sense when your vibration is in tune and when it drifts into discord. Modern science now echoes this ancient insight. Studies in sound therapy show that specific frequencies can reduce stress, regulate heart rhythms, and elevate mood. What Pythagoras taught as spiritual truth is today measurable in physics and biology. Harmony heals. 3. The geometry of virtue. To live in alignment with cosmic order, one must practice mathematical ethics, virtue as proportion. Pythagoras divided the moral life into 4 harmonizing virtues, corresponding to the 4 points of the Tetractys' base. Wisdom, Sophia, the right understanding of cosmic law, the intellect aligned with truth. Courage, Andrea, the harmony of action, the will aligned with the good. Temperance, Sophrosine, the balance of desire, the emotions aligned with moderation. Justice, Diakeonesi, the geometry of relationship, the self aligned with the whole. To practice these virtues is to draw the square base of the soul's pyramid, providing the stability for spiritual ascent. Each act of balance, each moment you choose harmony over impulse, raises your inner frequency closer to the divine octave. 4. The ladder of sound and silence. In the Pythagorean schools, mornings began with hymns to Apollo, the god of light and harmony. Music was used not for entertainment, but for initiation. Certain modes were believed to awaken divine faculties. The Dorian mode strengthened courage. The Phrygian stirred devotion. The Lydian brought peace. At night, they ended the day in silence. This cycle of sound and stillness mirrored the cosmic rhythm. Expansion and contraction, day and night, the breathing of the universe. To apply this in your life, cultivate your own daily rhythm. Begin with sound, chant, pray, or listen to harmonious music. End with silence. Reflect, breathe, and let your thoughts dissolve into quiet. Over time, you will notice something extraordinary. Your emotions will begin to move like music, flowing instead of clashing. You will sense harmony even in conflict, purpose even in difficulty. You will begin to hear the faint, eternal tone that Pythagoras called the voice of the stars. 5. The contemplation of numbers. Numbers, to Pythagoras, were living archetypes of divine intelligence. He advised his students to meditate upon number as a form of theurgy, a sacred act of communion with the divine mind. Try this practice. Visualize the number 1, the monad. Feel its unity, its stillness, its infinite simplicity. Then move to 2, The dyad. Feel the emergence of polarity, the dance of opposites within you. Then 3. The triad. Feel harmony arise as these opposites reconcile through understanding. Then 4. The tetrad. See creation, form, structure, and the physical world. When you visualized each stage, imagine returning from 4 back to 1. Feel the pull of the one calling the many home. This meditation restores balance between inner and outer, mind and matter, self and source. 6. The path of resonant living. To live the Pythagorean way is not to retreat from the world, it is to perceive its hidden music. When you eat, do it rhythmically, with gratitude. When you speak, let your words carry clarity and beauty, like a note in a song. When you walk, walk as though your footsteps are keeping time with the heartbeat of the earth. Pythagoras said, "The highest goal of all music is to connect one's soul to the divine. But the true instrument is not the lyre, it is you. Your body, your thoughts, your emotions, your breath, all are strings in the great cosmic harp." By aligning your daily life with harmony, you no longer seek enlightenment. You become it. You become the vibration through which the universe remembers itself. Close your eyes for a moment. Listen, not with your ears, but with your heart. Beneath the noise of the world, beneath the hum of your thoughts, there is a sound, a faint, eternal vibration. It is the same sound that Pythagoras once heard when he gazed into the stars. It is the song of your own soul, the forgotten melody of the divine. The soul as a fractal of the cosmos. Pythagoras taught that the soul is not separate from the universe. It is the universe, reflected in miniature. Just as the harmony of planets mirrors the harmony of musical intervals, the harmony within your heart mirrors the order of the cosmos. You are not a small being trapped in a vast universe. You are the universe, condensed into a single conscious vibration. Every act of love, every moment of silence, every realization of truth resonates through the whole of creation. When your soul vibrates in harmony, the universe itself becomes more complete. This was the true secret of Pythagoras, that the journey of the soul is not a climb toward heaven, but a remembrance of its own divine geometry. You were never apart from the source. You only forgot the sound of your own perfection. The return to the monad. The soul's path is a spiral, descending into matter, learning through contrast, and descending again through understanding. Each lifetime, each experience, each lesson brings the soul closer to perfect resonance with the monad, the One. To return to the One is not to vanish, but to vibrate so purely that no disharmony remains. When that moment comes, the illusion of separateness dissolves like a shadow at sunrise. The individual note merges back into the symphony, and what was once a fragment of light becomes the whole. Pythagoras called this the great harmony. In that state, there is no death, no birth, no time, only eternal music. The call of the inner temple. You do not need a temple of stone or a teacher in robes to begin this journey. The temple is within you. Its pillars are your thoughts, its altar your heart, and its sacred fire your attention.
Every time you choose harmony over chaos, love over fear, silence over noise, you rebuild that inner temple of the soul. When you meditate, breathe rhythmically, or act with integrity, you are performing a sacred ritual that Pythagoras himself would have recognized. The law of the soul is not faith, it is resonance. And resonance can be rediscovered anywhere, in any life, in any moment. The secret was never lost. Historians may say that Pythagoras' secret teaching was lost to time, but in truth, it was never lost. It was encoded within you. Every heartbeat is a drum of the cosmos. Every breath carries the rhythm of the spheres. Every act of compassion, every moment of awareness plays your part in the great universal song. You are not learning something new. You are remembering what your soul has always known. The numbers, the harmonies, the geometry, they are all reflections of what you are. The universe is music, and you are its note. Final reflection. Tonight, when the world grows quiet, step outside and look at the sky. The same stars that shone on Pythagoras still sing their silent song. Ask yourself, not with your mind, but with your being, what is the tone of my soul tonight? If you listen deeply enough, the answer will come, not in words, but as a feeling, a vibration, a quiet remembrance. That is the beginning of wisdom. That is the rediscovery of the lost teaching of Pythagoras on the soul. Closing line for narration. The universe is harmony, and your soul is its echo. To live wisely is to remember that the music was never gone. It was simply waiting for you to listen again.